This is a dramatized story inspired by real debt situations. For educational and entertainment purposes only. Not legal or financial advice.
Section 1. Hook. I was $94,000 in debt. I hadn't worked in 8 months, and every single morning I pretended to leave for a job that no longer existed. I'd back my car out of the driveway, wave to my wife Karen through the kitchen window, drive around the block, and park 2 streets over. Just sitting there, in a 2019 Ford F-150 I couldn't afford, eating gas station coffee, watching the clock until it was safe to come home. My name is David Marsh. I'm 51 years old, and this is the story of how I nearly destroyed everything I spent 25 years building. Section 2. Reality. Let me take you back to March of last year. I was a regional operations manager for a mid-sized logistics company in Columbus, Ohio. Good salary. $88,000 a year. Benefits. A 401k I'd been feeding for 2 decades. We had a nice house in the suburbs, 2 kids, 1 in college, 1 finishing high school. From the outside, we looked like we had it together. But here's the thing about looking like you have it together. It's expensive. The mortgage was $1,840 a month. We were behind by 2 payments already because the previous year, Karen had a cardiac scare. She was fine, thank God. But the bills were not. The hospital bills came in at just over $19,400. We had insurance, but our out-of-pocket max hadn't kicked in the right way, and after appeals and confusion and paperwork, we just stopped fighting it. That $19,400 went to collections within 6 months. We had 4 credit cards. Combined balance, $31,200. One of them was at 27.99% APR. I'm not even sure when that happened. I just kept making the minimums because that felt like responsibility. It wasn't responsibility. It was surrender. Then there was the car. Karen and I each had a vehicle. Mine was that F-150, $689 a month. Hers was a 2020 Civic, $341 a month. Combined, over $1,000 a month just in car payments, and the student loans I'd co-signed for our oldest, Tyler, $28,000. He graduated, got a part-time job, and paid what he could, which was not much. Then there was the IRS debt. 2 years prior, I'd done some freelance consulting on the side and didn't pay quarterly estimated taxes. I know. By the time the IRS sent the first notice, I owed $6,200 in back taxes and penalties. I pushed it to the back of a drawer and told myself I'd deal with it later. Later never came. And then, in March, a Tuesday morning, my director called me into his office, closed the door, and slid a separation agreement across the desk. Company restructuring. My position eliminated. 2 weeks severance, COBRA paperwork in a manila folder. I signed it, shook his hand, walked to my car, and I just sat there. Total debt at that moment, $94,000 across credit cards, medical bills, car loans, co-signed student debt, and IRS back taxes, and 0 income. Section 3. Emotional crisis. I don't know exactly when the hiding started. It wasn't a decision, really. It was more like momentum. The first week, I told Karen the layoff was temporary. A 30-day restructuring pause. I'd be recalled. I almost believed it myself. By week 3, I was applying everywhere, sending out 15-20 resumes a week, getting automated rejections, hearing nothing. The market for a 51-year-old operations manager is not what the career coaches on LinkedIn will tell you it is. By week 6, I stopped telling Karen I was applying. I just performed normalcy. Alarm at 6:15, shower, coffee, kiss on the cheek, drive away. The collection call started in month 2. My phone became something I dreaded. Unknown numbers. 800 numbers. Numbers I didn't recognize. They'd call at 7 in the morning. They'd call at 8 at night. A collection agency called 4 times in a single Tuesday. When I finally picked up once, the woman on the other end was professional, but her words felt like a physical weight. Mr. Marsh, your account has been referred to us for the balance of $4,180. We need to discuss your options. I hung up. I started letting everything go to voicemail. Then I stopped listening to the voicemails. Then I started sending all unknown numbers straight to a blocked folder. If I couldn't hear it, I reasoned, it wasn't happening. The mail was worse. Every day I'd get to the mailbox before Karen. Red envelopes, final notice, urgent. I became an expert at sorting mail in my car. Bills and collection letters went into a grocery bag I kept under the driver's seat. Karen got the catalogs and the birthday cards from her mother. Sleep was gone by month 3. I'd lie next to my wife at 2 a.m., listening to her breathe, and I'd just stare at the ceiling, doing math in my head. $1,400 in checking, mortgage overdue, car payment coming Friday. We had $340 in savings, actual savings, for a family of 4. I started losing weight without trying. Karen noticed. She thought I was stressed about something at work. She rubbed my back one night and said, "You work so hard." I don't tell you that enough. That nearly broke me completely. My chest got tight all the time. Not panic attacks exactly, but something close. A constant pressure, like someone had their hands around my ribs and was just squeezing, slowly, all day. And the worst part? Tyler, our oldest, called one Sunday and mentioned he'd noticed a collection agency had sent something to our old address for the student loan I'd co-signed. He laughed it off, said it was probably a mistake. I told him it was a mistake. I was so ashamed I couldn't eat dinner that night. Section 4. Wrong choices. By month 4, the performing stopped working. The savings account hit 0. I had to do something, so I did everything wrong. The first thing I did was a balance transfer. I got one of those 0% APR for 18 months offers in the mail, transferred $8,000 from my highest interest card onto it. Felt clever for about 45 minutes. What I didn't read carefully enough was the 4% transfer fee, $320 gone immediately, and the 99% rate that kicked in after the promotional period. I didn't have a plan to pay it off in 18 months. I had no plan at all. I just needed the phone to stop ringing for a few weeks. Then came the payday loan. I know how that sounds. I was a regional operations manager. I knew what payday loans were. I'd even mentioned them dismissively in conversations at dinner parties. But when you're staring at an overdue mortgage notice and your checking account has $47 in it, the sign that says fast cash $1,000 in 20 minutes stops looking predatory and starts looking like oxygen. I borrowed $900. The fee was $135 to borrow for 2 weeks. That's an annual percentage rate of over 390%. I knew this. I borrowed it anyway. And when I couldn't pay it back in 2 weeks, I rolled it over, twice. That $900 eventually cost me over $400 in fees before I scrambled enough together to close it out. Then I did the thing I swore I would never do. I raided the 401k. I took an early withdrawal of $11,000 from my retirement account. After the 10% early withdrawal penalty and the income taxes withheld, I actually received about $7,700. I used it to catch up the mortgage, pay 1 month of car payments, and buy some time. The other $3,300 in penalties and taxes? Gone. 20 years of compounding? Gone. I told myself it was temporary, that I'd rebuild it, but month 5 brought a letter I couldn't hide in the grocery bag under my seat. It was from the mortgage company. Karen found it on the counter on a Thursday afternoon when I forgot to check the mail before her. 14 words changed everything. Notice of intent to foreclose. Your account is 87 days past due. She was holding the letter when I walked through the door. Section 5, Turning Point. I won't describe that conversation in detail because I don't think I could do it justice even now. Karen didn't scream. That might have been easier. She just stood at the kitchen counter, holding that letter, and looked at me with an expression I had never seen on her face in 22 years of marriage. It wasn't anger. It was something quieter and more devastating than anger. It was grief. We sat at the kitchen table for 3 hours that night. I told her everything. Every number, every hidden letter, every morning I'd parked 2 streets over, every lie I'd told, including the ones I'd told myself. At some point, she reached across the table and put her hand on mine. She didn't say it was okay. She didn't say she forgave me. She said, "We have to fix this, together, starting tomorrow." The next morning, she found a nonprofit credit counseling agency through the NFCC, the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. She made the appointment herself. The credit counselor's name was Renee. She was matter-of-fact, non-judgmental, and she had clearly sat across the table from people in worse situations than ours. She went through every number we gave her without flinching, and then she said something that shifted something in my chest. She said, "David, the shame you're carrying about these numbers is heavier than the debt itself. These are solvable problems. Let's look at your actual options." For the first time in 8 months, I breathed. Renee walked us through a full picture. She explained that with our income currently at zero, several paths existed, depending on what I found work-wise in the next 60 to 90 days. She recommended we also consult with a bankruptcy attorney. Not because bankruptcy was inevitable, she said, but because understanding it as an option changes how you feel about all the other options. We took her advice. Section 6, Educational Info. I want to be honest here. Because when I was in the middle of this, I didn't understand any of the options available to me, and that ignorance cost me real money. The bankruptcy attorney we met with, and I want to be clear, always consult a licensed professional before making any decisions, explained the 2 most common personal paths. Chapter 7. Bankruptcy is what most people think of when they hear the word bankruptcy. It's a liquidation process. Eligible unsecured debts, credit cards, medical bills, personal loans can potentially be discharged. The process typically takes 3 to 6 months. It does have a serious impact on your credit score and your FICO score, staying on your credit report for up to 10 years. But for someone with no assets and no income, it can be a genuine reset. Chapter 13. Bankruptcy is different. It's a reorganization. You keep your assets, your home, your car, but you enter a 3 to 5 year repayment plan under court supervision. For us, because we wanted to protect the house from foreclosure and I expected to find work, Chapter 13 was worth discussing. Renee at the credit counseling agency also walked us through debt consolidation, combining multiple debts into a single loan, ideally at a lower interest rate. This can work well, but it requires decent enough credit and a stable income to qualify. My credit score had dropped to 541 by this point. Not ideal. She also explained debt settlement, where a company negotiates with creditors to accept less than you owe. It can reduce your balance, but it typically destroys your credit score. The forgiven amount can be taxed as income, and some settlement companies charge significant fees. She told us plainly, the risks of debt settlement are real, and the industry has bad actors. Do your research. For the IRS debt specifically, she referred us to a tax professional. There are programs like currently not collectible status and installment agreements that may be available depending on your situation. Again, consult a licensed professional. IRS debt is its own world. The credit counseling agency itself enrolled us in a debt management plan for the credit card debt, a structured repayment arrangement where they negotiate reduced interest rates with creditors and you make one monthly payment to them. My credit score wouldn't recover overnight, but it would stop falling. Knowing the options made the debt feel like a problem instead of a life sentence. Section 7. Resolution. I got a job offer in month 9. Not the same level, not the same salary. $61,000 as a logistics coordinator, which is a title I used to manage people who held. I took it the same day they offered it. We're not out of the woods. I want to be honest about that. The debt management plan is in its 4th month. We're current on the mortgage. The IRS installment agreement is set up. My FICO score is at 578, still damaged, still being rebuilt, one on-time payment at a time. Karen and I have a budget spreadsheet now. A real one. We look at it every Sunday night with coffee. Some of those Sunday nights are still tense. Some of them are almost peaceful. What I lost in this was significant. Money, yes. Time, yes. 20 years of compounding interest in a retirement account I raided in a panic. But the version of me that thought suffering in silence was the same as protecting his family, I lost that too. And I don't miss him. If you're sitting somewhere right now, hiding mail, staring at a ceiling at 2 a.m., backing your car out of the driveway to go nowhere, I need you to hear this. The numbers are fixable. The silence is what will break you. Make one phone call. Find a nonprofit credit counselor. Talk to a bankruptcy attorney if you need to. Tell someone the real number, because the weight of that secret is the most expensive thing you're carrying. You are not your debt. You are the person who is going to figure out what to do about it. Section 8. CTA. Download the free debt recovery checklist linked in the description below.